this is going to be a more in-depth version of the part one that I did. Same rifle setup, minus the weights, just because the weights are for competition. This video is going to be going more in depth onto the why I chose the equipment that I did, because I want to cater this channel towards, yes, becoming a better shooter, but bringing new shooters into just the realm of shooting, not necessarily just the sport competition shooting, but just more gun awareness and firearms education. So with all that being said, this is just going to be the why behind I chose what I chose, and if my why can help you out and save you money, I'm all for it. The first piece of equipment that we're going to go over, we're going to go tip to butt, was the Surefire RC2. This is chambered in 5.56. With all the suppressor technology that we have now, I would not recommend getting a 5.56 can if you can help it. Like, there's really no reason why you shouldn't just get a 30 cal can, unless you want to go through the ATF suppressor process more than once, or you want a suppressor for every rifle. Then by all means, get whatever can you want. I just got this can because I didn't know any better, to be completely honest, and I wanted what the SF guys were using. So I got the Surefire RC2 and 5.56. Next, this is the Surefire Turbo Mini, attached to the light bar on the left side. I like all my lights on the left side. Biggest reason is for suppressor use. If I sling this rifle, the light will essentially act as a heat guard, a makeshift version of the mod tack that Ricky Randy uses. If you're not subscribed to him on YouTube or Instagram, go check him out, because the mod tack, it's essentially a shield. I mean, no homo, it's a suppressor condom. That's the best way to describe it. Guards you from heat, but this acts the same way. It just doesn't fight mirage like the mod tack does. The barrel is a down defense barrel. In my first video, I said I have around 7,000 rounds on it. That is pretty accurate. I'll throw up some B-roll of some groups I shot yesterday. Yeah, yesterday with 77 grain IMI and 77 grain black arc. I'll put up IMI with the chrono data and black arc with the chrono data, just so y'all can see that. I went with down defense. Fuck all the political stuff. I wanted a gun that was gonna run wet, dry, dirty, clean, whatever. So down defense was that. Yeah, the groups speak for themselves with 7K rounds on the barrel. So I don't really plan on replacing this anytime soon until the groups start to open up more. The groups don't shoot as tight as they used to, but when you see the data, you'll be like, yeah, that's just fine for the amount of rounds that are on the system. The Unity hot button, just because when I had the Surefire tape switch, even just picking up my rifle, if I wasn't 100% locked in, or if I was just moving it from case to case or whatever, I would constantly, even just the slightest bit of pressure would activate the light. I didn't like that. So I got the Unity hot button just because, I mean, as you can see, I just picked it up. But with the button being recessed into the polymer housing, you have to actually put your finger inside and turn the light on. It's an audible click. And the amount of pressure you have to put in for the momentary, it's about the same as the Surefire. Yeah, it's about the same as the Surefire tape switch, but the angle that the button is at, you have to actually be trying to turn it on. It does have a constant. Some people think that the Unity doesn't have a constant, but it does. So yeah, that's why I went with that. It takes up very little rail space, again, compared to the Surefire. So the Unity takes up a lot less rail space compared to the Surefire. As you can see, it's a whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots smaller, and it does the exact same thing. And you gain the capability to not accidentally white light activate. If you want to just run 100 concepts, light cap, you can do that too, but this was an instant fix for me. Okay, so moving back from the illumination, the Surefire Turbo and the Unity, this is the Nightforce 4016 by 42 with the Mill XT reticle. A lot of people ask me, why did I say that I would not get this optic again? And that's strictly just for the price point. Not everybody has Nightforce money, and that's okay if you don't, but that's why I said what I said. I'm not gonna put a Nightforce on every rifle I own. I own 4 rifles. Yeah, Nightforce is not going on every rifle that I own. But chose this optic just because the turrets are very audible. And the zero stop is very pronounced. As a cap windage turret, the parallax knob rotates extremely smooth, and the range is from 75 yards to infinity for those spec guys, but I'm not really a spec guy. Let's see, next, cap windage, audible turrets, this. And then a lot of people ask me why did I say that I put a dot in front of my turret to protect the turret. The reason I did that is because, as you can see, when I dial, let's say I dial 2 mils, there's nothing stopping this turret to lock. Like the Razor 427 has a locking turret, so you pull it up, rotate it, smack it down, and it will not move. I'll B-roll some footage. Or the Strike Eagle 3-18 has a locking turret. Same thing. Pull it up, rotate it, smack it down. It won't move. I'll B-roll that there as well. The Nightforce 4016, well, yeah, this turret is awesome. If I'm entering a port, let's say, pretend there's nothing here, and I nick this corner, I can nick the corner of the turret. See, it'll move. So if I go from target 1 is 2 mils and target 2 is 2.7, like, yeah, I understand you can just hold that in the reticle, but those 2 little bumps I just did just now move me 0.9 mils. So if you're not paying attention, or you're behind on the clock, or you know, the animal or 2-legged creature that you're trying to engage is moving in whatever contrived scenario you can come up with, now you're off target. So that's the reason I have this dot here, aside from the function that it gives you of dots doing what dots do. Yeah, this optic doesn't have a 1x, so that's another reason why it's here, or that's another reason that I have the 1x capability, but it's positioned here as opposed to being on the 45 to protect my turret from slipping. So just to elaborate more on the part 1 of the video that I did on this. You'll notice on like the Badger mounts, there's screws, there's 2 lugs on the inboard side of the rifle. I didn't like that personally, just because it can grab onto like a prop on a stage, it can grab onto your kit, it can grab onto pretty much whatever if you're not, on top of your shit. I didn't like that. So if you notice, there's no screws or lugs that are overhanging the sides of the mount on either side. So that's why I went with the Reptilian mount. Pretty much that's what sold me. Moving back from the optic setup, I have the Radiant SD, just because I shoot suppressed, and the corners are smooth. Some of the other gas busting charging handles that are on the market, sure, they may work. There's the PRI gas buster, there's the Silencer Co gas buster charging handle. To me, those all seem I don't know. It didn't click with me. I didn't like it. So I just went with the SD because yeah, the corners are smooth. It's not gonna grab on anything, and it just looks good. So I got it. Moving back, this is the Voltor A5 buffer tube with the Cobalt Kinetics buffer weight that has the indexing point on the inside. I'll B-roll that as well, but that's just to remove all the slop inside of the system. Because if you don't have it, if your spring is like worn out, or you know, if your tube's not in spec or anything like that, the buffer spring and buffer weight and the bolt carrier might not actually be touching, but under fire, the BCG could slam into the buffer weight, and that could just create some inconsistencies. So that's what that is there for. You definitely don't need it. This is just me nitpicking, trying to tune some shit, but by no means do you need it if you're just getting into shooting. Attached to that, I have the Magpul CTR, the 1/2-inch cheek riser, air socket bag rider, and the limb saver. The reason I have the bag rider here is for bags, because without the bag rider, without the bag rider, just pretend this is gone. It'll just be a pointy, it'll just be a triangle. So this creates a more flat surface for the rifle to just sit. It won't teeter-totter. It won't create an inconsistent recovery position when the gun recoils. So this just makes it a lot more consistent. And then I have the Magpul CTR, one, because it's streamlined. Like there's not really anything, like there's no snag hazards here. I like that a lot. But the reason I got the Magpul CTR on here was so that I could use the bag rider, as opposed to using the B5 precision stock. Like, yeah, on its face, this thing looks cool, but if we line these up in the same position as the buffer tube, the bottom of this stock is a lot higher. So trying to maneuver a rear bag, just for me and how I have this set up with the Harris Bipod, it just didn't work for me. It might work for you. You might like the look of this, or it might, you know, they might sell you that it has they might sell you on the fact that it has the adjustable height of comb, length of pull. No, this came with the Cobalt receiver set. Not for me. I like the Magpul CTR with the air socket furniture. On the back of the CTR, I have the limb saver. And then, like I said in part one, yeah, you definitely don't need this for a 5.56. I just like it. You might not like it, and that's your business, but my money, I liked it. So, cool. Moving on. Like I said in the first video, I didn't know the name of this trigger just because the trigger came with the receiver set. But this is the Geisley Super National Match, and I found out that it's adjustable. I would not recommend going like crazy light with a trigger, because sometimes you can't feel the reset. I know if you put the match trigger spring in this Geisley trigger and you put it to the lowest setting, you will not feel the trigger reset. As soon as you start pulling slack out of the trigger, it will fire. I did not like that. So I put the match spring in here, and I put it, I would say around 3 pounds. But that 3 pounds is just in taking up the slack. So let's go ahead and, weapon is clear, put it on fire. So that right there, that little bit of movement, that is the 3 pounds. Once I go from there, it breaks. It might be like half a pound for it to break, but you can pretty much get that same functionality with any aftermarket trigger. You can get that with the LaRue MBT trigger. You can get that with pretty much any Geisley trigger, but this is just the trigger that I'm testing out for now, but so far I like it. The trigger that I've been shooting has been the Geisley SSAEX, the lightning bow, and this is a 2.5 pound trigger, but this is pretty much the same thing. This is pretty much the same thing as this. I'm just testing out something else. Underneath, this is an Area 419 Arca rail with a Harris bipod on top. I wouldn't necessarily recommend, or I wouldn't really say that you need Arca, but if you're going to be a competitor, there are stages that these match directors will come up with where you will need to move your bipod close together, as opposed to having like random spots of Picatinny. Could you do that? Yeah, by all means you could do that, but I went with the Arca because it creates a more flat surface underneath the rifle for my bag. So the flat surface combined with the versatility of moving equipment where I need it, that's what sold me on the Arca. And if this Arca plate gets damaged, I'd rather replace the Arca rail as opposed to replacing the handguard. And then we have the Ridgeline Defense quick deploy method for the bipod. If you're not familiar with that, I'll demonstrate. The reason that that's there is because some match directors make you start with all your equipment stowed. So this is stowed, but so let's say we're gonna start a stage and we need to go prone. Instead of doing 1, 2, like you have to with Atlas bipods if you don't have the slapjacks, I can just reach up here, boom, and I can go prone. And you might be saying, well, that was only like 1 second. Well, let's pretend we have 10 stages and it takes you 1 second to deploy your bipod. And every stage you need to deploy your bipod. That's 10 seconds added to your time if you and all of your competitors shoot the exact same speed. You'll be 10 seconds slower because you have to deploy your bipod, and they don't. They can just pop it. So that's why I have that. Made sense to me. So next I have the Salient Arms BCG. This company sadly just became like a weird niche replica airsoft company. All of their Gucci stuff is like sold out or it's discontinued. They were like the first Gucci company pretty much. They don't sell this bulk carrier group anymore. This was my first dumb / Gucci purchase when I was a private. I still have it. So when I B-roll this film and you see the gas key, the reason I got this bulk carrier group is because the gas key is integral to the body of the bulk carrier group. It's not like normal bulk carrier groups where the gas key is staked. So it's like the same thing as your like if you look at your castle nut, you'll see those dimples around the side. That's a traditional gas key where the screws are essentially pinched into place with the metal of the body of the bulk carrier group. On this Salient Arms bulk carrier group, the gas key is one part of the system. It's all one piece. That's why I like it. But when you see the B-roll and you see how beat up this thing is, I don't want to hear it because I've had this thing for going on a decade and she's still ticking. So, and then last but not least, the receiver set. This is the Cobalt CK SPR Pro receiver set. Yeah, this is just for the way that the barrel interfaces with the upper receiver. If you know anything about the way barrel nuts traditionally vise on to the upper receiver, you'll know that the teeth are very small. I have an AR-10 right here. So if you see here, this is the barrel nut. and then I'll have to B-roll some film or something. But on a traditional AR-15, the barrel nut sits on top of the upper receiver and they vice down together, creating tension, pulling the barrel into the receiver. On this Cobalt Kinetics, it's pretty much the same, but it's flipped. So the barrel nut goes inside of the receiver. So the receiver will be like this. You thread the barrel into the receiver on the inside, and there's more threads. So the thread for even this AR-10, the threads stop about right here. On the Cobalt Kinetics upper receiver, the threads stop just after this screw. So the threads stop about here. So we have literally like an inch and a half more security for our barrel versus the traditional system, and that just reduces the amount of play in the barrel. So if you load your bipod, or you press onto a barricade or anything like that, this just reduces the amount of wobble or flex that the handguard induces into the barrel, just keeping harmonics consistent. The grip, this is a B5 Systems pistol grip. I want to say the 23. I'll throw it up on the screen, whatever the actual name is. But I like this grip because it's more vertical compared to a more standard pistol grip. So as you can see, look at the grip difference. So if you were to get into unconventional positions, instead of your hand being vertical, so I could even do this. I can bring it all the way back. I can maneuver my rifle through ports. I can do whatever I need to with a more vertical grip. If your grip is more canted, you can only go back like this far. So imagine trying to go prone or enter a port or something funky. You kind of can't do it if your wrist is torqued forward. So that's the reason I have a more vertical grip. So yeah, those are the reasons why I chose the equipment that I did. Hopefully that helped you out. But if my why doesn't align with your why, that's fine. We all have different applications for our rifles. We all live different lives. You don't need to have the same rifle as your friend. You could be a scope carbine shooter, he could be a red dot shooter, doesn't matter. But if my thought process can help you save money or time or frustration, that's pretty much what this channel is about. There's no reason for you to make the same mistakes as somebody else did if a video can help you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, share it with whoever, like it. But yep, that's it.